What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of For the Love of the Game. We are on episode 40, Steve. How you doing tonight, brother?
Wonderful. How about yourself, Mark?
I'm doing good.
Does this
Very.
mic, does this microphone make me look more professional tonight? Are you
Yes, it
respecting?
does. I'm glad you took my advice and actually got one. Looks
This is
very, very professional.
I'm just trying to make episode 40 that much more special for us.
Exactly. Before we get started, guys, we want to talk about our sponsors really quickly. We want to talk about RxHemp, rxhemp.com. Make sure you go check them out for all your CBD products. They got a pain treatment cream over there, and you can save by using rxhemp-usn and save 10%. There it is right there. Little tube. That's really all you need, and it works wonders. So go check them out. And then also for all your sports betting needs, go check out mybookie.ag and use code USN100. And that'll save you. That'll actually match your deposit up to $1,000, 100% with code USN100. And then also one last thing, go check out wiredbysports.com. We got a merchandise store over there, guys. WBS10 will save you 10% on your order. You can get nice sweatshirts such as this one right here. The Jason Tatum Secure the Bag collection is up now. But we also got other products over there, so go check that out. WBS10 again is the code to save 10% on your whole order. Going to be a good show tonight, man. We're going to go over a few things. We're going to go over some NBA headlines, talk about a few surprise NFL teams that we like, and then also talk about a kind of a sideshow boxing match that we got going on.
It is a sideshow.
But before we do, I think you want to vent a little bit. You said
Well, I think
just like last week, a little bit.
I think last week was therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
Long weekends draw out, bad beats, and I think a lot of us deal with bad beats, and just so happened before this. I always say sometimes I'd rather just lose than get a tie or a chop. I feel like chops are like the worst things in the world, And tonight there was a game that was I had plus 10 UNC Wilmington, and they were up 10 with 5 minutes to go. Up 10 in the regular game. They're up 10, so we're covering 20.
Yep.
They blew it. They went to overtime and then proceeded to lose by 10 in overtime.
It's a bad beat right there.
It's ridiculous.
It could have been worse though. They could have lost by 11.
I almost rather than lost by 11.
You got at least you get $75 back.
I mean, it's a loss.
That's true.
I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to pay for this wonderful microphone that I bought tonight.
Yeah.
That was my bet. And,
that's true.
But in all honesty, Mark, like if you're in that much control of a basketball game,
yeah,
you can't have that lopsided of an overtime where you can't cover 10 points.
No, and then not only that is they should with 5 minutes to go in the game, you're up 10. I mean,
that's not even the part that bothers me. The fact that you were competitive with a team all the way through, and then you get trounced in a 5-minute overtime where you're just not. I think they scored 3 points.
Dude, but at some point, when obviously being a 10-point underdog, you're obviously a huge underdog at that point. 10-point, double-digit underdog is a pretty big underdog. So that team is far better than you that you're playing. Like, what happened in overtime is what they expected to happen for that whole game. So maybe they just wore out. Maybe they just wore out down the stretch.
I understand
that happens.
They're kids.
Yes.
I can't be mad at kids. I've always told myself every once in a while. I was like, they're kids. You can't be mad at kids. But this is just logic. Basketball, 5 minutes. Can't lose by 10 points, So that's kind of like where we started the night.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we had a nice little kickback. Washington pulled up an upset against Pittsburgh.
That was nice.
Ended Pittsburgh's undefeated season.
That was nice.
Shout out Alex Smith. Shout out Ron Rivera.
We'll talk about them a little bit later on. Fantastic. But big shout out to those guys, obviously overcoming a lot. But also, I mean, you were able to bounce back and hit the under in that game. So that's a positive.
That was a positive.
All right. Now we got everything on the Niners right now.
Yeah, we got the Niners and the Niners are the Niners right now. So
yeah. We'll talk about the Niners as well. So let's get into some NBA talk right now, guys. I want to start out by talking about the John Wall for Russell Westbrook trade. So the Rockets traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook. The Rockets also got a first-round pick in the deal. The Wizards had to get rid of a first-round pick in order for them to take him because of that contract and everything like that. So they had to sweeten the deal a little bit. So they also Rockets also get a first-round pick in the deal there. So just going to start on me. Who do you think won that deal, man?
Well, I think neither team won the deal, Mark.
Really?
If that makes any sense at all.
No, it doesn't. But elaborate.
I mean, we're talking about two former All-Star point guards,
One former MVP.
I mean, yeah, I guess we'll say Russell Westbrook's a former MVP. We got
I
Russell
mean, he is.
Westbrook forces his way out of town. Clearly, ego problems. Wants to go to a team that he can just dominate the ball, which is interesting because Bradley Beal really dominates the ball down in Washington. So I
He
don't really know
does.
how that dynamic's really going to work. The only dynamic that really works is that Scott Brooks was a former coach of Russell Westbrook, so maybe he feels like he can kind of maneuver his
He
way
knows
with the
Russ.
emotions of
Yeah.
Russ
Yep.
and kind of make that work. And on the other side of it, I think Houston ends up getting something better than just losing Russell Westbrook for nothing. So I mean, I don't know what to make of John Wall going to the Western Conference and possibly, I mean, with health concerns too.
Yeah.
Talking about a guy that really hasn't been healthy in his career the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
going to a team that is in just pure chaos right now in Houston, where we don't even know what the situation with James Harden is going on. So
Yep.
I think from an overall talent standpoint, I think both players obviously are great players. I think the Wizards probably win more in this deal just because maybe they've always talked about possibly breaking up the Wall Beal combination and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out how that was going to work. And instead of just having one just be the obvious one on the team, they were able to add Westbrook to make it somewhat interesting, especially in the Eastern Conference. I think
Yeah.
if you look at it from afar right now, it's hard for me not to think the Wizards can't be a bottom playoff team.
No, they were. I mean, they were this past season. They made the bubble, and they were close to that playing game, that playing tournament. And now this year, there's going to be a playing tournament, and so they did all that without John Wall last year. So you have virtually the same team coming back. You add um, they got Bertans back in free agency. You still have Beal. You still have Hachimura from last year. They drafted Danny Avita, so they have him, and
They
then
just don't play any defense.
and they had Russell. They had Russell Westbrook. No, they don't. But even last year without Westbrook, they scored 120 a game.
So is it going to be like 140 to 133 that they lose every game now?
I don't think they're going to lose every game, but like you just hammer the over in those games. As far as if you guys are bettors out there, you hammer the over in the Wizards games. Wizards overs locks for this season. Um, but I mean, they're not going to compete for a championship, but there's no doubt that they can't compete for a playoff spot, especially in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. And like I said, we with John Wall, I think for Houston, I think getting anything is better than nothing. So I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, how old's John Wall at this point? 25.
Probably a little older than that. He's been in the league for a while.
Well, he came in the league as a 19-year-old.
I know.
He might feel old at this point.
Yeah,
but I mean,
especially because he hasn't played in 2 years.
Came in with Cousins, didn't he?
Yeah. Now they're reunited.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Cousins is on the Rockets, so
yeah, so maybe the Rockets aren't too bad after all.
Dude, they got Cousins. They got, I mean, who knows what the fuck's going on with Harden? But they got Cousins. They got John Wall. They got Christian Wood, who was a big free agent addition. So.
And they still got all those role pieces around them.
Yeah.
Is PJ Tucker still there?
PJ Tucker's still there currently.
Oh, so
they don't have Covington anymore. They got rid of Covington. They don't have Austin Rivers anymore. He's gone.
They got a new coach now.
They got a new coach, Silas. So, I mean, who knows how that's going to be. But it's going to be whole different offense in there. I don't think it's going to be your typical James Harden dribble, step back three.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to have to run it, especially with a big man like Cousins. They're going to have to give him touches on the block. If John Wall can stay healthy, he could be an upgrade over Russell Westbrook.
Well, it depends what kind of player you're looking for. Are we looking for a more? I mean, Harden came out and said that he liked the chemistry more with John Wall coming into that situation. I think that's just what James Harden has to say in that situation, correct?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to say he doesn't like it. The trade.
But I think from an overall James Harden still being able to do what he wants to do, I think John Wall definitely complements that situation better than what Russell Westbrook did. Which is surprising because we talked about in the past, these are guys that James Harden has asked for. He asked for Chris Paul. Then he pushed
that didn't well. Yep. Carmelo.
Then he asked for Westbrook. Yeah, he's asked for all these guys, and now is this just another indication? I wanted John Wall. Well, how long do you want John Wall for?
Well, that's the thing with the Rockets too. Is they've done everything. Harden's all pissed off. He was demanding trades and he wants out of town. But the Rockets have done nothing but catered to James Harden.
Yeah.
Whatever he's wanted, they've gone and got.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to make it work. I mean, you could argue they could have made a finals if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt a few years back against the Warriors, but what is what it is. Chris Paul got hurt. James Harden choked in Game 7, and then the rest is history. But going back to the Wizards, I think from the Wizards' perspective, by trading for a guy like Russell Westbrook, I think that basically is saying that Bradley Beal is going to stay in Washington.
Yeah.
I don't think you trade Bradley Beal now.
No.
I think if you're looking for a complete rebuild, you would have traded Wall for draft picks and some nice pieces, but you wouldn't trade him for another superstar who's ready to win now. So basically, that's saying like for all those teams that were rumored to possibly trade for Bradley Beal, whether it be the Lakers or even the Celtics or whoever, I think Beal stays put in Washington and they try to make it work with the squad they got now.
Is Washington now a big piece away?
Yeah, I mean they need. I mean you need three guys, right?
Yeah.
You need a big three, unless you have just LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like that's a super two.
Yeah.
But mostly, it's all been shown over the years. You need a big three, and so Bradley Beal and John Wall. I'm sorry, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook by themselves is just not getting it done as far as making any noise. But if you can get one more huge piece, they would need somebody like maybe a Giannis or something like that. But I don't think Giannis is going to Washington.
I feel like
but you need a guy like that.
I guess. Okay.
Right.
Well,
I mean, to make it work.
It's more of a destination now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe KD finally goes home to Washington after his trip in Brooklyn. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know.
Okay.
But that's the only guy that I could think that would want to go to Washington.
Can KD
eventually
and Westbrook ever really actually play together again?
I think so.
Okay.
You don't think so? I mean
let
bygones be bygones now.
I mean, Russell Westbrook is a huge, huge ego.
Dude, he does have a huge ego. I agree with that.
And that whole back and forth that those guys had the last couple of years, like, just didn't seem like they ever wanted to even be a part of each other's team anymore.
Yeah. So. I completely agree with that. And then moving on next, we're going to keep it on the Rockets here, specifically James Harden. So Rockets had their first open practice, and James Harden was missing. He was at a familiar place. He was caught on camera at a strip club, making it rain, throwing dollar bills up in the air. So he missed practice. Then he was rumored to supposed to have a private workout. Also missed that. Was caught at the same club the very next day. So he's at the club 2 nights in a row. Who knows? Maybe he slept there. Who knows if he even went home? But this is kind of not surprising, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think? I mean, he doesn't want to be in Houston anyway. He's made that clear. So for him to miss out on the first practice, I don't know if he's trying to send a message to his team and saying, trade me. I'm not going to show up. But it definitely seems like something James Harden would do since the reports that came out that he doesn't want to be there.
This is clearly just being overblown.
You think so?
Absolutely.
He's just blowing off some steam.
I mean, this is what James Harden does. I believe there was a trend that went out being like, whatever cities have the best strip clubs, that's the ones that James Harden has like the worst performances in.
They're just out all night.
This guy just loves strip clubs. He just loves it. And I know in a COVID time, like, I think that's the thing that people frown upon right now. Is like,
he's just out.
Is why is James doing that?
Yeah.
Like, he's putting himself in a situation that, that could put his team at risk. And I think that's the bigger thing that people are worrying about. But from overall, like, wanting to do anything, like, what does James Harden really need to do or prove at this point for you to believe that? Like,
he's got a new fucking coach.
That's
you got to go get into practice. You got to learn the system. You got to learn. You can't just expect to walk in day one and you don't know what the team is running.
Yeah, but maybe this is just the way he operates.
Yeah, but I don't think he's never been the way he's operated before, though.
How do you know that?
He's never. Yeah, I mean, he's never missed a practice, though.
I mean, we're talking about a private workout.
Well, no, they had a full team practice and then a private workout. Okay. Supposedly he wasn't at the full team practice because they said he had a private workout later. But why wouldn't you want to be at a team's practice when you have all new players on there? Am I right? Like, you want to try to get acquainted.
No, I agree with you. I'm not saying that it wasn't wrong, but I'm just saying of all players to miss a practice right now. I mean, what are we, like 3 weeks out from the opening of the season?
First preseason games next week.
Okay.
So
I'm just saying. I mean, he's the dribbler. I mean, all the offense runs through him. I don't think much is really going to change. I think that you're not wrong in saying that he needs to be with the team right now.
Yeah.
But I just think it's the way that he is right now. I just think he doesn't care. I just don't think he thinks his team is a contender at this point. And, and he's kind of forcing Houston's hand, maybe. Maybe he's saying, like, I'll come and play, but he's like, I'm going to come play by my rules.
Yeah, but I think they are. Like, I don't think they're contending for a championship, but they're still, like, middle of the pack Western Conference right now.
He doesn't want to be middle of the pack anymore.
But that's what he's always been.
I know they're not. They've made some Western Conference finals.
Yeah, but as far as regular season performances and stuff like that, they've been a middle of the pack. They were the 4 seed this year. Like, they've been a middle of the pack Western Conference team. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what they are. And the only way you're going to win, get to the NBA Finals, is if you have a little bit of luck, along the way.
True.
That's the only way they're going to get there. Like, they're not better than the Lakers, obviously. Not better than the Clippers. Not better than the Nuggets. So shit, they might even be better than the Phoenix Suns right now. with all the moves they made.
I mean, they've done a really good season, so you got to give them credit. I'm just not going to scrutinize this man too much without learning what's really going on.
Yeah.
Until we get more information about it. Obviously, it doesn't look like it's a good look for many reasons. Obviously, it's more for me just everything that's going on in the world right now, the last place that I'd want to be is in a strip club. But those people need to work too.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were having a lot of fun. There was a lot of money getting thrown around in that situation.
Oh, dude, of course. I mean, when's it not fun?
I mean, if now here's the real question: James Harden walks into a strip club. How much is James Harden bringing in that strip club?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And now, is he throwing up hundreds and thousands of dollars in that one night?
Not all at once, I don't think.
Well, I know he's not throwing up
Like,
$100,000 at
yeah,
once.
but like, I mean, I think he spends it definitely for
The
sure.
whole thing.
I would not doubt if he spent $100,000 at a strip
What do you
club.
think he spends on? We'll say in a season, James Harden.
On a season, how much does he spend on the stripping?
We talked about like back in the day, like with Jordan and gambling and whatnot.
Yeah, but have you seen some of these bills? Like when these guys go out to restaurants, like you gotta realize these guys are buying for because when he goes to the strip club, he's not going alone, right? He's probably going with a group of guys.
Okay.
You think, right? You agree?
I don't know. He looked like he was a loner in that video.
I don't know. They must have caught him alone. But like, if you ever see these, like, you ever see like the rookie bills, like the rookie when they go out and they make the rookies pay for dinner, and they get the bill back, and it's got like $80,000, like that's what the strip club bill is, plus what you got to give the strippers. Like they're buying the most expensive bottles, like bottle service.
They're not eating there,
dude. Who knows? Magic City.
He's not at Magic City.
Who? Yeah, but like, who knows? There's not other places like Magic City.
I'm just saying.
There might be in some.
You're saying hundreds of thousands.
There not hundreds of thousands, maybe 100,000, but he's not spending multiple hundreds
like
of
it's been
thousands.
on record that he pays like $50,000 for a hooker. Like, so I'm not surprised. But
there you go.
But $50,000 at a strip club is a lot of money.
I know, but just like a bottle of like Cristal or like these.
He would have no money. He's always at the strip club.
What do you mean he have no money? He's got tons of money.
Not if he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every night at the strip.
Well, he's just not every night. He's smart about it.
I mean, he does it a lot.
Yeah,
under over trips to the strip club for James Harden in a year.
100.
Okay, so now do that math and what you're estimating at what he's throwing up right now.
But I would take the under on that though.
Well, how much of an under?
Not much.
Guy just likes to have fun at the strip.
He does. Hey, whatever you gotta do to fucking play well, right?
Some people gamble, some people smoke. James Harden just likes to blow up some steam at the strippy.
Next thing I want to get into, guys, is one of the new things that the NBA came out with this year. So one of the biggest gripes with NBA and players and fans was load management. You get guys that were completely healthy and sitting out big primetime matchups. You know, you got Lakers versus Clippers, and either LeBron's missing time or Kawhi and PG are missing time. So it was obviously a lot of fans were getting upset about it. The NBA wasn't too happy with it because obviously ratings-wise that hurts. So the NBA came down with a new rule that says that if you are not hurt, you are not allowed to rest players during nationally televised games. So no more load management. I think this is great. I mean, obviously for us as fans to watch these games, I just don't know how they're going to monitor this, and I just don't know how accurate it's going to be. Because what's going to stop a team from saying, like, oh, my guy's, dinged up a little bit, he's got a cramp or something or a sore knee, and just put it on the injury report?
No, it's true.
What's going to stop teams from doing that? So I don't know how much they can police this.
Well, we're going to find out really soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know about organizations and owners is they have a ton of money. And if their bottom line is making sure that their star players are taken care of, I'm sure that they'll be able to. But they said a minimum $100,000, right?
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can only work up from that. So I'm assuming it's like first time, second time, third time offenders. It's kind of like a scale at that point.
Yeah. And then even if you're hurt, you need to be in the building. Like, you need to be visible to fans, I guess. So, like, you got to be on the bench.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, most of the time, those guys are visible to fans.
Sometimes. I mean, Kyrie never fucking shows up anyway.
Kyrie's a weirdo.
Yeah, he is a weirdo.
So I mean,
yeah, you're right.
It doesn't really count. No. But I think it's, I mean, their TV with the way the world is right now, like, and you're not getting an audience, like, you need to maximize your TV deals. You're not getting PNs and stands, so like, if people aren't going to tune into the game on the national televised schedule, then you're losing tons of money. And what do you know about anything is they're only going to tune in if those star players are performing in those games. Yeah. Because how many times did we used to watch Spurs Heat games a long time ago, and all the Heat players were resting, and then the Spurs players were resting, and then the NBA got burned by that. And this year is different though because the fans won't get burned by it this
Yeah.
time around. It will only be the TV contracts that
Yeah,
get burned
because
by it.
NBA doesn't cater to the diehard fan. Like the diehard fans are going to watch regardless.
Oh yeah.
Like you and I, as Celtics fans, we're watching every game every night. We're tuning in, even if all the starters are sitting out. We're watching the main Red Claws team go out there and try to win a game for them because we care about that. We follow that team. But the guys who are only fans of LeBron James, or only fans of Kawhi Leonard, or only fans of these bigger names, Giannis's and Luca's and things like that, they only want to see these guys play. So if they're not playing, they're not going to tune in. So you got to cater to those casual guys.
No, I agree with you, and I just think that this is going to be way more important when fans are allowed back into the arenas again, because it's the people that overpay for ticket prices when they know that there's a marquee game coming into town, and then when that marquee game comes into town and these guys are ruled out, like those are the people that are really getting gypped with their the amount of money that they're paying, and it really does hurt the NBA's bottom line because if you can't depend on the tickets holding value, because you and I both know, like as Celtics fans, like those tickets go quick, and and if you're trying to get the best deal that you possibly can on a ticket price, you're trying to order those tickets in advance as far as possible, because everybody knows that once it gets to game day, once it gets to the week of the game days, those ticket prices are usually double to triple the amount of money at that time.
Oh yeah, big time.
And if you ever get a season ticket package, I remember a buddy of mine got a promotional season ticket package to New Orleans, and all of those ticket prices were the same thing, and then all of a sudden you would see like Lakers, Heat,
and the big teams,
and even in the ticket, as a season ticket holder, those prices on the ticket stubs were immediately triple to quadruple the amount of times they would play like Minnesota or other teams like that. So, the bottom line is like these players have to figure out a way to appease everybody, and I understand that you can't play every night, you're going to get hurt and whatnot, but I mean, I look at it from the status as we get up and we go to work every day.
Oh, we do. I
mean,
these
guys make millions and millions of dollars, and I know the ultimate goal is to win a championship and get where you need to get to. But at the same time, like the NBA needs to function as a whole, and the reason why you get paid the amount of money that you get paid is because of advertisers, is because of the growth of bringing in more fans to the games, and you have to start appreciating that from afar, because without everybody else contributing, you're not going to be making the kind of money that you're making right now. And I think we both agree that like the NBA contracts in this league are just like ridiculous. Like players,
oh man, it's all guaranteed money, dude. It's like
all
crazy
guaranteed money, and players are making money that I think we can step back and be like, there's guys that were in the 90s and early 2000s that were far better than a lot of these athletes right now, being like, that guy's making 20
dude, I laugh sometimes because I'll see like the equivalent of like a football contract. I'll see like, so obviously yesterday Darren Waller has a huge game in the NFL, and then I see his contract come out and they're like, yeah, Darren Waller just signed a 3-year $24 million deal or 4-year $24 million deal, which is a lot for that position in the NFL. But like, I'm just laughing. I'm like, a guy as good as Darren Waller is at his position is equivalent to $20 million a year for a player in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's like wild the way it is. And these guys are more chances of getting injured and they have no guaranteed money.
No. It's a huge problem, but I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to. Like the NBA players are always going to hold the fact that they play a certain amount of games, and that causes more wear and tear, but there's less physicality.
Especially now in the NBA, there's less physicality. It's not like it was, obviously.
Injuries are always going to happen, you know, whether you play more or don't play enough. Like you can play half the games, you still have just as much of a chance to get an injury in those games as if you played a full allotment of games. So I think it's important for the NBA to start setting the standard and say to these guys, like, we need you to play. But the only thing that I worry about is in a year that we're going to play 72 games, our NBA players going to come back and be like, well, if you're going to want this, then we're going to start asking for a shorter season.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, it's not shorted by much. It's only 10 games, but I mean, who knows?
Well,
it's
a lot
just
of these guys that take load management usually take 10 to 15 games off a year, it seems like.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's, and like now that's going to be, you know, I like how they come out with this rule, and I think that it was making them a little nervous because of getting the season started so quickly. That outside of the teams that didn't go to the bubble, like they didn't get much of a rest or an off season per se. So they had to assume right away. I mean, even LeBron James has been coming out and saying like, "Hey, I'm just going to miss some of the season." Well, now he's not going to be able to do that unless he gets, just minds paying the fine. That's not going to happen. Maybe make special rules for LeBron. Who knows? But that's not supposed to happen. And you have guys like Kawhi and PG and all these guys that normally Kemba's I mean, Kemba's legit literally hurt, and he's probably going to get load managed a lot. But who knows how much legit that load management is going to be?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and something to see if that the NBA can really police. Because like I said to start this segment out, like it's going to be very very tough, and there's going to be guys that are still missing games that you're just going to be like they played the night before. It's like, oh, now they're hurt all of a sudden.
No, I agree.
So we're going to run into that situation a few times.
I agree with you.
All right, let's jump over to the NFL. All right, I'm going to talk about a couple of surprise teams this year. I want to start with the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, even though they kind of almost blew that game yesterday, was very, very impressive. I think they were up 38-7 in the first half, or 35-7 or something like that in the first half on the Tennessee Titans, which the Browns have been good this year. I mean, they're 8-3. Tennessee was also 8-3 coming into that game. I don't think anybody saw that type of beatdown coming. Baker Mayfield played well. He had 4 touchdowns yesterday. Nick Chubb is unbelievable right now since he's been back from injury. Running the ball, definitely one of the top running backs in the league. Defense is playing well. Myles Garrett's back now for them healthy. So he's rushing the passion, doing his thing. I'm going to beat a team like Tennessee. I got to ask you the question: is this Cleveland Browns team for real?
I think I'm happy for the Cleveland fans to finally have a team. I think this is the first time. I think it's the third time in the last 10 years, third time in 13 years that they've actually hit the over prop on how many season wins that they would actually get. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it last week. If there's any fan base that really deserved to be able to attend games this year and really enjoy it, it is the Cleveland Browns. I think that yesterday,
that dog pound, man, would be going crazy right now.
I think yesterday was their first true signature win.
Yeah.
Going on the road, going against a team like Tennessee, doing exactly what they did. And if I was a Cleveland Browns fan today, I would wake up for the first time in 30 years and be like, we got something here.
Yeah.
And I think I looked at the stats. It was games where Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb don't play. The Cleveland Browns are 1-2. All other games that those two play, they've only lost one game all season. So it just goes to show you how important those two guys are really to their lineup. So when you have two horse running backs like Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, like you can really bring yourself a long way. And I think I looked at the stats for Mayfield over the last 4 games, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he's been a guy that's always done less with more talent.
Yeah.
And it's finally starting to come back around. They lost Beckham. It looked like they were going to hit the wall again early on.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, you lose a guy like Odell Beckham, you might think it's like downhill from there, but they've actually, I don't want to say they're better without Odell, because I definitely don't think so, because he brings a lot to the table, but they've obviously played really, really well without him, and they've kind of shown that. Like, even a guy like Jarvis Landry has been tremendous his last couple of games.
Yeah. I mean, and shout out, they haven't made the playoffs since 2002.
Mm-hmm.
The year they played, I think it was Pittsburgh in the wild card round.
Is that Tim Couch? Tim Couch quarterback?
I don't think it was Tim Couch. I think it was somebody else. I think Tim Couch might have been the quarterback to begin that year, but I feel like there was some sort of back. It's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant.
Cleveland Browns have not had much to celebrate over in 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been a while.
In a year like 2020, where things have been very weird, it doesn't surprise me that the Cleveland Browns have come out
headed right to the playoffs, man.
So I mean. Shout out the Cleveland Browns. I think if there's a team that if you don't have a team in the race this year that you kind of want to get behind, maybe it would be the Browns this year, just because,
It's nice. It's like I said this. I think I said this on the last show. It's like if you're a fan of a team and your team isn't in it or in contention or anything like that, I like to see underdogs win.
Yeah.
And the Browns, for the last 2 decades, or basically most of their franchise history, have been underdogs.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them kind of get back into it. And obviously it looks like they're headed towards the playoffs. They haven't clinched a spot yet, but they're definitely looking like they're getting there. With Pittsburgh losing tonight, I think they're 2 games now behind Pittsburgh. They obviously have another game against Pittsburgh. Do you think they could potentially catch them for the division?
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, and I think I said a couple weeks ago too, I still think they're a fraudulent team. I think that they're not going to really do anything. I think the Tennessee win was a nice win yesterday, but they were up 31 and they only won by 6.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a little something.
Terrible second half.
There is something to that. It was unbelievable the first half of the game. It was fun.
Dude, I tend like that happens though in NFL games. It's like you're up by so much, and you start playing prevent, and they're obviously scoring quick touchdowns because they're getting big chunk plays. Tennessee has big plays to AJ Brown. Corey Davis had 100 and change yesterday.
It's almost like they came out in a second half prevent.
Yeah, so I was just saying, dude. So I that seems to happen a lot when we talked about that actually early in the year when the Cowboys games, when Dak was before he got hurt when they were down by so much, and then he just stat stuff and bring them back. And sometimes they would win or they would lose, but he would just stat stuff, and I would call them like empty stats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe that was what it was yesterday for Cleveland in the second half. Who knows? But definitely they're gonna have to put a full, and when you get to the playoffs, especially put a full game together. You got to play 4 quarters, or else you're not going to be successful.
I think the only thing that's on their side is that wherever they go, they're not going to have to deal with a home crowd for the most part. And I always think that the first time you enter the playoffs, doesn't matter what your record is.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, like, there's going to be a learning experience from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's going to be much of a learning experience. There should be a hold on that play.
Yeah. I hope there's a hold on that play.
There's always going to be a learning curve. I don't know if the Browns will have to face that so much this year, but there's clearly a lot of, I feel like a few other better teams than them. And like the way Pittsburgh's playing right now, I mean, I guess you never know. I mean, I guess they could give them a run. I mean, they are on a roll right now. They are really feeling themselves. So, like I said, I know history, and history says the Cleveland Browns don't compete for Super Bowls. So
yeah, so it's just not going to happen.
So I think that Cleveland
big trend guy.
Yeah, I think Cleveland should just enjoy the ride right now. Shout out Dog Pound.
Yeah, good thing is they got nothing to lose, right?
No.
It's all house money right now. Whatever they do is, if they make the playoffs, it's a successful season.
Well, I mean, last year they came in, they had all the pressure on them because they had the roster, and
Yeah, you had Baker coming off his rookie season. Yeah, it was a lot of hype.
Yep, and then this year they got back to
Odell's first season.
But we'll see it once the pressure's back on them. Now all eyes are on them. Now everyone starts talking about them again. What are they going to do? Are they going to fold again? Are they going to be typical Cleveland Browns football? Could be.
Possibly. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is kind of a good segue. Pittsburgh played earlier tonight on Monday Night Football. They played against the Washington football team, and they got their first loss of the season. Washington played very well. This is more, we want to talk about the Redskins rather than the Steelers. Alex Smith had another good game, 298 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Couple of good tight end Logan Thomas for the Redskins played well tonight. All without Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson has been a very good running back this year. He was hurt early on in the game. He didn't come back. Great story by Washington. They moved to 5-6 on the season. They're tied for first place in the NFC East in that division. Great storylines there. Ron Rivera, we talked about earlier. Ron Rivera beating cancer. Alex Smith thought he might have to amputate his leg, and he's back now playing at a high level. Great story there for the Redskins. Steve, what do you think about the Redskins, man? Pretty exciting that they're doing what they're doing right now.
It's definitely a great story because, especially what you just talked about with the coach and the quarterback.
And I'm sorry I said Redskins, but it's the football team. But it's hard not to call them the Redskins.
Yeah, it's the football team. You got to be respectful.
I do. I fucked that up. I apologize. Dude, but it's like, San Diego, LA Chargers will always be the San Diego Chargers. The LA Rams will always be the St. Louis Rams.
Just remember,
come on.
The Redskins were eliminated just because of
I know
what their name meant.
Oh, I know.
So, you got to appreciate it.
I do.
We're
I do.
not talking about geographical
That's true. No, you're right. I do. I fucked that up. I apologize.
Okay, great.
All right.
But like I said, the storylines that go around with the team. I think what makes Washington so impressive is actually Chase Young has added a different dimension to that front four, and what they saw tonight against Pittsburgh is, when that front four gets pressure on it, they can get pressure on any quarterback. They can create havoc, and they can make that game a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned it from a standpoint of Alex Smith being known as like one of the best game managers ever. And if you just put a good defense around him and just say, hey, Alex, just go out there and just do what you need to do on offense and kind of just get through the game, like this is kind of like what happens. So as long as Washington's defense continues to play well, I think they have a good chance, because I think the offense is going to be able to do just enough to be able to win football games like they did tonight.
Yeah, and it shows over the years too. If you have a good front four and you can pressure the quarterback, you can make a run at a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Giants did it against the Patriots twice. The Niners, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they had a great front pass rush with Aldon Smith, Justin Smith when they went to Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. Even last year, the Niners with D Ford, Nick Bosa on the outside, DeForest Buckner, they were wreaking havoc last year. They were able to make it to a Super Bowl. So it shows that when you have guys like that who can pressure the quarterback, it's definitely a recipe for success. And like you said, with a guy like Alex Smith who doesn't make many mistakes, he's just that he's a game manager. It is what it is. Let's call it what it is. It's what he's been his whole career, but it works. And it works for him. And they have a lot of talented guys too, like him, and Terry McLaurin is one of the best young receivers in the game. And I mean, they could definitely, go to home. I mean, there's no fans, but it's still home field advantage. They could get a home playoff game in the first round. I mean, I could see them winning a playoff game this year.
And that would be a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not so sure winning the NFC East is anything to brag about, but to win a home playoff game for that team in that situation with those storylines, I think that would just be enough for that organization, especially everything that they've gone through. So yeah, so it's one of those things that you hope for the best. And like I said, it was definitely a surprising win to be able to go into Pittsburgh. But I think we've talked about the whole COVID situation and how like the scheduling's been. Like nobody's gotten screwed more than Pittsburgh in this whole thing. So
and you also said we also said earlier, dude, like this game kind of set up for Pittsburgh to lose. Like it's hard for it to go undefeated. Like no matter who you are, it's super super hard. It's only been done one time. Or twice actually, the Dolphins, and then the Patriots most recently in 2007. But it's super super hard to do, and you always have that one collapse, and you always lose to like the teams you should beat too.
Yeah,
right. It's like you never lose against the teams that are close matchups. You only always beat the good teams, but then you lose to the Redskins or like the Chiefs this year got one loss. They lost to the Raiders, which is obviously clearly better than the Raiders. Like games they could have won, and that just always seems to happen that way. And with the scheduling, where the Steelers have been fucked out of their bye week. They were fucked out of their long week because of the most recently scheduled changes. They had to play on Wednesday last week. Mm-hmm. Then you come out and you play on short rest and you play Monday early at 5:00. Like it just has not been easy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've definitely gotten screwed. So to do what they've done up to this point is, I mean, kudos to them.
Washington hasn't played since Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of time to get to prepare for this game and be ready for this game. And they definitely looked like the fresher, more motivated team out on the field tonight. So.
So, do you think the Redskins win the division? Oh, they're tied with the Giants right now. Philly and Dallas are out of it. I think they're not coming back.
As we saw yesterday with the Giants defeating Seattle, like the Giants' defense is really good too.
Yeah,
I think Washington does win this division though.
Yeah,
I really do think if they present better components to both sides of the ball.
Yes.
So I would definitely, and I definitely.
I think Daniel Jones is hurt too. So like if he doesn't come back, Colt McCoy played well yesterday, but if Jones doesn't come back,
and while Alex Smith has come back from a horrific injury, Alex Smith does have years of his career where he led teams to playoff
NFC championships.
Yep,
yeah, he has a lot of experience.
Yep, he's got the experience, he's got the composure.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the temperament to be able to do such a thing, and I think these guys are getting hot right now, and I think they're starting to believe in themselves. And and it seemed like before Alex Smith actually finally started winning games, like he was in those two other games before. I think they blew 2 games late.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, while they're 5-7, they could easily be 6-6, even 7-5 at this point. So I think that they're definitely trending in the right direction, and I definitely the Eagles aren't going anywhere.
No,
Dallas is
not going anywhere.
So,
you don't have to worry about that. It's basically a 2-horse race right now.
If you had said before the season that it was going to be a horse race between Washington and the Giants right now for the division, like you would have laughed.
Yes,
you would have laughed.
Yeah,
there would be no way in hell that you would ever believe that these two teams.
I wouldn't have thought it, especially the Giants. I mean, coming into it, even with Dak being hurt for Dallas. Like, that's why you sign Andy Dalton. Yep. Andy Dalton led the Bengals to multiple playoff experiences. Has obviously been a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. Has the team around him. That defense isn't, has been hurting a little bit. But you still have Zeke. You have all the big play receivers, and you're not able to pull it off and win games. So
Joe Judge is like a glorified interim head coach too. Like I don't even consider Joe Judge a head coach. He wasn't even.
No, he was a special teams coach, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a huge people were bashing that signing when it happened.
If you had to right now give me your top 5 for coach of the year, like what would be your coach of the year right now?
Top 5 coach of the year, Stefanik in Cleveland.
Okay.
Kevin Stefanik. Buffalo's head coach. What's his name?
Sean McDermott.
Little biased, but if San Francisco can somehow find a way to make the playoffs with all the injuries they have, I like Kyle Shanahan. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he should get some mention for it.
Right now, you would have him in your top 5.
No. I'm saying
I don't want honorable mentions. I want the top 5 right now. Like you said, Sean McDermott. Like I think Brian Flores deserves way more credit. It's hard to not have Mike Tomlin up until tonight.
Mike Tomlin, yeah,
as an unfit. And I'll say this: this is one of Bill Belichick's best coaching jobs ever in his whole entire career.
You got to throw that honorable mention, Bill Belichick.
No, not an honorable mention. Like if Bill Belichick's not in the top 5 this year, right now for head coach of the year after the start and the situations that they've had to go through, and the dog shit roster that they have right now, and being able to be 6-6 right now, I think it'd be just be ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
He definitely deserved. But right now, Stefanik definitely to me is definitely the front runner in this situation. And I think even Sean Payton deserves some.
He does, especially with Drew Brees being here and them still winning games.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be a close run to the finish line for Coach of the Year. But moving on, guys, I want to talk about one last thing here really quickly. We got a surprise boxing match that was agreed to yesterday, off of the Jake Paul victory over Nate Robinson, which was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Which I don't think Nate Robinson should have ever been in a boxing ring with a guy who's been boxing for 3 years. But his brother Logan Paul has agreed to a fight with Floyd Mayweather. And Logan Paul has been boxing for the last few years as well, but obviously he's not one of the best boxers in the world like Floyd Mayweather is. And they agreed to fight each other, and basically just a publicity fight. It's just an exhibition. It's all for the money, but in my opinion, this is a joke.
I mean, Logan Paul just lost his last boxing fight to that guy KSP. So, but if you see,
better than Jake Paul should fight him, not Logan, right?
No, well, I mean,
Jake Paul's coming off a victory.
Listen, and I like the way they set it up. It's a buy now structure in terms of the pay-per-view. If you buy the pay-per-view tomorrow, it's $25. Every 2 weeks, it goes up $10, $10, and that's one of those things that
it's got a cap at something, right? What's it max out at? $69.99.
Yeah, it's always that $70.
$79.99.
That's what it is, Yeah. So, and the worst part is, Mark, it's probably going to be one of the highest grossing money-making fights in boxing history, because
it's going to be disgusting.
People can't help themselves. They'll add other fights to it. They'll make it interesting. And if we remember anything about the McGregor fight with Mayweather, I kind of think that he let McGregor kind of win the first couple rounds just to make it seem a little interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I can't assume Mayweather's going to come out and just destroy him in a round or two. He's going to probably try to pander to it.
It's going to be interesting to see if Mayweather's, we all know, is like Mayweather's a point fighter, right? He just sticks and moves. He doesn't really go for knockouts. But even with McGregor, a guy that he's a lot better than, he didn't really go for the knockout against McGregor. He just let McGregor kind of wear himself out. Like, cardio-wise, you could tell that McGregor was in no shape for Floyd Mayweather. And I wonder if he does the same thing with Logan Paul, or if maybe he's like, maybe I go in and knock this dude out.
It doesn't matter.
Or maybe he lets it go 10, 12 rounds.
The fact that people are even going to possibly break down this fight and try to analyze it and try to come up with some sort of semantics towards it is just the worst. The fact that we're even talking about it right now is the worst.
That's what they want, man. Get people to talk about it.
It's the worst. It's an embarrassment. It really is so stupid.
Definitely going to watch it.
Are you?
Yeah, dude. I watched the other one, the Logan Paul fight.
Well, that was different.
What do you mean?
You watched that fight because of Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. You didn't watch the fight because
but this is Floyd Mayweather. Like, I'm always gonna watch Floyd Mayweather fight.
And Floyd Mayweather hasn't fought since 2017. I get all of that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm gonna watch it.
But my question to you is Floyd Mayweather would never take a fight that he could not win. You know what I'm saying? There's no way, because if Logan Paul ends up winning this fight for some reason, you should just tarnish Floyd Mayweather's legacy.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Floyd Mayweather's not taking this fight unless he knows he's 100% going to win. Like, he's not you know what I mean? That's how you know. Like, to lose to a YouTuber who just started boxing a few years ago.
Lost a decision to another no-name.
Exactly. To lose to that guy is it tarnishes your undefeated record. Like, to have that as your only loss on your record, that's childish.
I just think it's embarrassing that they even went through with this fight, because it just doesn't make any sense.
That's what boxing is nowadays, though. It's all money grabs. It's never the best fighting the best, for what I'm saying. Or it's always
That's not true. There are great fights happening around us. There's just no attention to it, because people want the circus.
Yeah.
That's all they really want. They don't really want the top tier.
Even the Nate Robinson fight, dude. Nate Robinson they made hundreds of thousands of dollars for that fight.
They had two top fighters on ESPN. I think it was over a month ago. I can't remember their names. I think it was Valashenko and somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on ESPN. It was a free fight.
Yeah.
They didn't charge anything.
No,
they're going to be charging $70 for this crap. It's embarrassing. And like you said, you're going to order it, you're going to buy it, you're going to stream it, you're going to do whatever you possibly can.
I'll figure it out. I don't know how much money I'll commit to it, but I'll figure it out.
It's just a circus.
We all have our ways.
I guess.
It is a circus, though. You are right.
I just wish that they could be better and give us a real fight or whatnot. But
Mhm.
I'd rather see Logan Paul fight Jake Paul. Why
can't the brothers fight? That's right.
Give me that fight. Give me that
Yeah,
fight.
it'd be more competitive.
I think everybody just wants to see one of those guys get knocked out
Yeah.
because that's what it is. Like you saw Jake Paul after that fight with Nate Robinson calling up Conor McGregor.
Yeah, an idiot.
And you know the worst part is, he's gonna get that fight.
Probably.
If this fight's gonna happen, then that fight's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, but what would they fight? Would they fight MMA? Would they box?
No, they box.
Exactly. So I mean, who knows? McGregor does want to box. Obviously, he always talks about going back to boxing.
He is gonna go back to boxing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll
He's
see.
talking about Pacquiao.
That's not gonna happen.
Well, it doesn't really matter at this point because he's gonna be fighting Jake Paul next.
Yeah.
The Paul brothers, of all the people in the world, are the ones that are going to be like, how much money that he's going to make off this fight?
Oh, a ton of money. Millions.
Millions?
Yes, millions.
Like hundreds of millions.
No, he's not gonna make that much. I think he's not gonna get anywhere near what Mayweather.
You don't
makes.
understand how much of a YouTube following that this guy.
No,
has.
I do know. I know
like,
exactly how much.
People that
it
have
has.
never sniffed a boxing fight, like they've never even watched one.
Yeah.
Like those little groupies.
Oh yeah.
Like they're all gonna order this fight.
Of course they are, but that it goes off of total pay-per-views. It doesn't go off of his following, how much money he makes because his following buys more pay-per-views. It just goes off of total pay-per-view buys, which
do they have
the main draw is Floyd
Do
Mayweather.
they have a lineup for this fight yet?
I don't think so.
They have to have a lineup for this fight.
You looking that up right now?
I am. I mean, continue on. I have.
I mean, we got to find out the line for this fight because I think we're giving you a. I mean, what's the point? I mean, we're gonna give you a pick. Like it's.
Huh?
It's gonna be
Mayweather
it's gonna be Mayweather in a knockout TKO.
I'm curious what kind of odds we'd be looking at in this situation because no, we don't.
No line yet.
We don't
Okay.
have a line yet, but
He's gonna be a huge underdog, like
1,000.
Yeah, easily, dude.
1,000 to 1.
He's fighting the greatest boxer of our time, dude. Like,
you think Mayweather would bet on himself? Would put like $100 million to win like $1 million?
Probably. That guy's got fucking problems when it comes to gambling, dude. He bets 50 grand a quarter in NBA, dude. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up for episode 40. Before we do, though, I want to talk about our sponsors one more time. Go over to rxhemp.com for your CBD treatment cream. Got a little CBD cream here for you guys. RxHemp. Just follow the B right there, and then use code RxHemp-USN, and you'll save 10% on your whole order. And it helps with all aches and pains and everything like that. So go check them out, guys. And then also mybookie.ag for your sports betting needs. And they have all the lines, all the player props. Go check them out and use code USN100, and they'll match your deposit 100% up to $1,000. And then also, again, like I said before, one last time, wiredbysports.com. Go check out our shop over there. We got some great gear over there. As I said, Jason Tatum's Secure the Bag collection for all you Celtics fans out there. Make sure you go check that out and use code WBS10 and save 10% on your whole order over there. And as far as me and Steve, make sure you go follow us on Twitter at WiredSports_CEO. And Steve is at SLewis5656. And we always are posting updates with the show and everything like that. And if you're listening to this, make sure you rate and review us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Spotify. Let us know how we're doing with the show. The good and the bad. It helps make the show better. So we really appreciate you guys' feedback.
And also the feedback on Marc's new hairdo.
You like my hairdo?
I just want everybody to just like chime in.
A little slick.
You like Marc's flow.
Like my flow, dude? So I'm balding up top over here, so I'm trying to make it look thicker.
Why you do it?
Of course I do.
You're just gonna say like this is why I'm doing. Like you're just gonna say yeah, I have flow. Like this is what I'm trying to do. I wasn't trying to like sell you out or like put you on.
He's trying to sell me out because it's the first thing he said when I walked in the door.
I would never do such a thing.
All right, man. We'll see. I'm gonna come back next week with the same hairdo.
Well, we'll see what the fans say first.
Yeah, hit us up, man. Let me know. Should I keep it like this? I think it looks clean, but whatever. Anyways, make sure you tune in next week to see if I still got the same flow on another episode for the Love of the Game. Peace, guys.